Hello, welcome back. History of Design, session 6 out of 16. Let's jump right on in. Tuesday, we are at the genius of 20th century design. As always, by Thursday, make sure you do your attendance. Start the attempt. Let's see what the first one on this one is. What is the purpose of a style guide? Well, I know that off the band, and it's the first one on mine, to ensure brand consistency. Boy, oh boy, I talk about that in the brand class a lot, so I know that's the correct answer right there. I got 1 out of 5 questions. If you don't know it, you can simply copy and paste it into your local browser, and it establishes the standards for writing, formatting, design, ensure professional. Yeah, brand materials. It's there. So you can use that as well if you don't know it. Again, we teach these. I have you look at these one just for not just for attendance, but because you need to start hearing these words all the time. It is words that are used in industry nonstop. And the more you know, the more you can speak, the better you're going to be at gaining clients, gaining trust, and understanding. So that's why we do that. Mid-session project review. I talk about this every week and every time. Use that. Again, use it more in advance. I haven't been able to look yet today. So if you're like, oh my God, my Tuesday assignments, he hasn't looked at them. Well, I teach 3 classes today, so it's real tough to get it in on the Tuesday. So prep yourself. I do look every day, but it's going to be at like this afternoon. So just comes on those days that they're due. Whatever. All right, we know the Tuesday's assignment is going to be the title, and it's going to be the design of a special topic. Now, I'm going to start challenging you all as we're 6 weeks in, and I want to start doing some not improvements, thinking about the big picture, and I want to starting to see if we can make these work in conjunction. They're 2 separate pieces, but can we make them work as one piece? Meaning, like, can the title design start to match the bigger overall design? Something to think about. I'll work on that today and maybe make that a theme that we can start building toward for the rest of the project, because these will be used in something at the end of the semester, whether you know that or not, as we will be coming back to every design piece. Except for the major design projects, the Thursday ones. But we'll be coming back to the Tuesday design projects and doing something with them. So I'll work today on that. But before we get there, let's talk about the genesis of 20th century design. Again, these are just 10 pieces that I have, 10 points that me and Chat, good old Chat, and the Megs have picked out. Just to kind of give you an idea, I still want you to look through the book. The book is there for you to peruse. You might find something that sticks out to you more than me. The problem is I have a bias. I like certain things more than I like other things. So I'm always going to be like, oh, this is super cool. But you mean like, how come you never talked about this? It's just because it's not, you got to look for yourself. You got to develop your own ideas of what you like to see, what you don't like to see, what's trending, what's not trending, what you want to do in the end. So with that, I'm going whole hog in the Frank Lloyd Wright today. I'm just telling you that right now. Good old Frank, he's mentioned at the beginning of the book. He's a Milwaukee native. Hand clapping for that. Phenomenal designer. Thought about things differently. Really, just the spirit of design with Frank and pushing the envelope of what should be done, what can be done, and changing minds. And it's such a great design aesthetic. I wish we could do it more. We have our cookie cutter houses everywhere, but like, man, he did some crazy stuff. Like, why can't we just always do crazy stuff? So, like he's a pioneer of the organic style, but unlike Art Nouveau's, he did it very geometric, organic. Like he wasn't all about like, these lines and this work here. He did it in his own way, which I think also stepped him out. It made him different. He's also, architecture was a huge thing for him. So it wasn't necessarily graphic design, but he designed, if you don't know, I'm concentrating on the windows here. I mean, it's easy. I'm going to concentrate on his windows. He calls them something. Shit. I had it copied and pasted in a different file. He calls them like light screens. Oh, light screens. He calls them light screens. Not stained glass windows, but light screens. And he does them in a very geometric pattern, but he did everything in his houses, from the architecture to, like, he designed the windows, he would design the furniture, he would design the knickknacks, like every single piece in his house. And that's why the other part is maybe why we don't do that anymore, is the design aesthetic was about the entire house and not just the house itself, but like the windows and this and that and the other. So very cool. I kind of really love this style. It's so him. Yeah, there's the problem. The Glasgow School, the Four. I love that. I love this idea that like this group became known as the Four. Like, so cool. This is the design style. We see these tall vertical lines. Charles Rene Mackintosh and his collaborators created a look featuring extremely vertical, tall, thin lines, elegant, stylized floral shapes. So like we're almost taking what happened with Art Nouveau, right? And it's still Art Nouveau, but we're starting to maybe take some of the ornamentality out of it and maybe simplifying it. And I think it may be mentioned in one of these paragraphs later on. It's like, it's not going against it, but it's growing on it. Like, oh, they did like all this floral, like Job posters, all those Job, beautiful, love Job posters. But then like maybe Frank's like, I love that, but I want to do it with my geometric. Or here they're like, we're going to scale it down and not be so over the top, but it still has that same breadth and style that we can see there. The Vienna Secession, big thing here. The Austrian artists were like, we're not doing your traditional Art Academy crap anymore. And they started experimenting with like square formats, modular grids. That's a big thing now. Just taught grids earlier this morning, talked about grids and design, paving the way for organized layouts we use in print design today. So here we are. It's the odd breakaway of like, you're being too arty. It's too arty and crafty, which is a big thing. And we're bringing it back. And we're going to say like, we need to like, let's start aligning things and gridding it and making it so things, I want to say like, are legible, but we are starting to introduce a better sense of hierarchy and less sense of like ornate design within a design piece. So we talked about those posters and stuff, and that really being the turnover of like where art became design and design became art, like that. But now we're like, okay, maybe graphic design, we should start looking at some fundamentals. And these fundamentals are what we teach in the 103 class, design elements and principles. That's where that comes from. So they're like, maybe we can do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but maybe we should start thinking about the design itself and how it reads and hierarchy and gridding and making sure that things are a little bit more organized. As this page is damn near, like every piece on this page shows that. Ver Sacrum, Sacred Spring, was this the magazine developed by the Vienna Secession. It was a playground, as it says, a playground for design, where every issue experimented with different papers, textures, unique square format. This is amazing. And this carried through for many years, many decades, let's say decades, even up until me. I was in my college days and a little bit after college. This was still going on, early 2000s. You would go to paper shows. It was called a paper show, before everything turned digital. And you would run into, they would have magazines or zines, smaller, based on this kind of idea of like, we're going to experiment with the print media. And I just, we don't see that as much anymore. like we used to. And I feel like anybody who'd start that, like in my head, I'm like, God, I would love this. How do I do this? How do I set up a new magazine that's based on this? That isn't digital. There are people are touching it. And you know, this whole idea of, you know, different paper textures, unique square layouts, the integration of text and art. It's such a new thing here. And they had this magazine that they put out, you know, for a while. And then there other magazines have come and gone over the years. It's hard to keep it up, and like there's only so much experimentation you can do, but kind of missed this, you know, old man, oh, I miss the days when I could hold a magazine. I know it's changed. I don't even draw on paper anymore. I draw digitally, but I kind of do miss some of that experimental ideas that we come across. Peter Behrens, first corporate identity, working with AIG, the very first corporate identity. How cool is that? For the German electric company AEG. Behrens designed their logo, their buildings, and even their products, like kettles. That's going to be on the next page. So that's almost like this Frank Lloyd Wright thing, where instead of just doing one little piece, I'm going to do a poster for you, like, or I'm going to do your poster for the electric company. I'm doing it all. You guys are going to get a new logo. We're going to do a whole style guide. We're going to design the buildings. It's like, it's all encompassing. We're starting to think, and that's that takeaway from last week. Oh my God, Art Nouveau. I don't know why that wasn't sticking in my head. You know, that's coming from Art Nouveau, and where they're like, you know, this design can actually be in buildings, or this can in products. And now we're like, okay, no. So we're going to take not just like the design style, but I'm going to create an entire identity for you. And it's going to be the buildings, the products, the logo, the paperwork, you know, everything that goes out from here is going to be designed for that. So pretty rad in itself. I've talked about, like we talked about the birth of the slab serif when we moved, we were moving through art history, and we're done with your fancy hand calligraphy signage. We want the biggest and baddest letters we can get to tell somebody on their woodblock print, like, we're having a show. This is happening. Hear ye, hear ye. You know, like stamped big and bold. Well, now we're getting into the birth of the sans serif as a standard, and we haven't left it. I mean, it brought it in to be used more than just the title. Sans serif is just clean, clear, easy to read. I use it all the time. I use like Helvetica and Times New Roman. They're my switch offs. Here's why I don't delve in much more, is I know Helvetica and Arial. Actually, Arial is pretty much standard. I can't see the difference then beyond that. I mean, there's some other sans serif fonts. Gill Sans, I don't like the way it looks. It's very round. That's basically all I can name. But I like start to look at them like, I don't see any difference. And if the font doesn't have enough styles in it, I can't use it, because I need the thin, bold, black, italic, blah, blah. So if you get like some weird sans serif that doesn't have all that, I don't use it. And that's why I stick with very limited fonts in my own work, is I need to know that I can do everything I want to do. Though I'll play around today when we do our work. Even though while earlier designers thought sans serif type was ugly. It's so boring. It can only do fancy stuff. Peter Behrens and the Vienna Secession began using it to look more modern. The Deutsches Werkbund, this state-sponsored effort in Germany to combine art and industry. How great is that? What do you think? State-sponsored. This is country-sponsored, not state. So this is, you know, the AEG. This is a poster, and this is a teapot from them. You'll see more examples in the book, of course, with these. And then so this is for this, which jumps to this. These two all work together, where we're getting a new idea, and industrial design is coming into play, and that's where form follows function. Our designers started to focus on how a design worked and how readable it was, rather than just how much decoration they could add. And that's, we go back to those old Job, pre-Job, like all those fancy things that people did. And it was like, oh my God, this is just too crazy. Now let's just pare it back. Like here's the electric building. Here's a light symbolizing electricity, and it's from the electric company. This is cut off or whatever, right? And the teapot, like there's a reason for the octagon. I believe that harkens back to the logo as well. But just very plain, simple design. How well does it work? How well is that function of the design? Grid systems. So this is the other turning point, which I talked about grid systems in my earlier class and with you. Grid systems. It might be for you. It might not be for you. I highly suggest you try it out. When you can set up a grid in Illustrator. Again, I'm just going to do this. I did this earlier, and I'll show you. Just 8.5 by 11. If I hit create, and you go to view and grids, show grid, you can get a grid, and you can set this grid up, divide it out, however you want. I want a grid block every ½ inch with this separator, blah, blah, blah. You can get in the grid. This is the baseline grid. So when we talk about grid in graphic design, it's setting up a system, and sometimes these systems work a little bit better in full branding projects. And there are books out there, books and books and books and books about the grid in graphic design. Learn every graphic design grid in 8 minutes. Which book do I have? Books. A lot of these books are just like available online. This one, Grid Systems. You go through this, and there's hundreds of pages of broken down grid system. I wish I had it. What is it called? Grid Systems PDF. Let's see if I can just find a real quick copy of it. All right, so I'll scroll down. Lots of writing, talking about all the other stuff about sizing of this. Let's get to the grids. Here we go. So he starts to break out, and it's like breaking out of the pages into these systems of grids in different size, and how do we use those grids? I'm going to get to it, more grids, breaking up your page, knowing the setup of your grid, where you want it. You can go crazy with this stuff. Some people absolutely loved it. I worked with a beginning designer many years ago. He's actually, when I say beginning designer, I was an art director. He was either an intern. I think he was an intern. He didn't stick around too long. But you would give him a project, and probably the problem with him is he spent the first hour setting up a grid system for the design project. And you'd be like, dude, you spent an hour just on the grid? Like, we need to get this done and out the door. Like, you can't just spend an hour on that. Some people love it. So dig into the grid, and maybe you can use it. Maybe setting up a grid system for you to use as a graphic designer is the right way to go. It's worth experimenting with. Dig around. Like I said, if you just dig around and watch a couple of YouTubes on using a grid system, it may be helpful. It may not. Who knows? All right, finally, transition to modernism. We're moving. Look at this. Look at how simple this is. The underground. Bold, geometric, functional, modernist design. We've come now. I don't want to say full circle, but we finally have come to this modern era of away from the ornate, ornamentational design where we're trying to show off, and now it's become let's work on the messages. Let's work on the design, informing the public and then maybe the ornate entertainment part of it comes later. You know, like the underground doesn't need to be like super fancy letters. Like, no, we need to be able to read. People need to know when they see this symbol where to go, instead of it being like, you know, as much as the beautiful Metro from Art Nouveau. So there's a little rundown. Again, please look through the book. I'm not a historian. I'm a designer, and the things I pick out, you're gonna pick out different things. You have to kind of create your own sense of what you're attracted to. I'm just here to kind of be like, hey, did you hear about this? This might be cool. Did you hear about this? This might be cool. So let's dive in. So I'm doing Frankie, my buddy Frankie, Frank Lloyd Wright. I found some fonts. I went to Adobe Fonts. I found some fonts. They literally have a Frank Lloyd Wright fonts. I was like, all right, bonus right there. That's done. I downloaded those and I went and I just dug around. Went on the internet. I got my copy from Google Gemini, as I say you can do. Hello, can you? And I read through it and kind of made sure, like, does this sound correct? Yeah, Rose Got the Prairies. Yep, he did do the influence. Yep. And I was like, okay, so I made sure it's good. It's good to go. I've heard other people, you can type in like, how much of this is true? And it might come back to be like, only one thing is true. There you go. So you can test it. So I've seen it done. I've never done it before. So very funny. So I was asking for proof, like, because sometimes it will, I have found it when I use it, it will give me crap and I'll be like, where did this come from? And I have to ask it to redo it a bunch of times. So always double check your work. As I said, as it says in here, source. You do not, 200 words about your chosen subject matter. I didn't say where it needs to come from, because I'm more about the design. But the idea is having a set amount of text, a title, 5 images, and you have the design into that space. And that's why we do what we do. It's the practice. You're a designer, not a writer, so I'm not worried about that. Let's do our title. And the title's in Illustrator this time. So we're going to open this up. I'm going to close out this one. I'm going to go to new file, and our title is going to be 6.5 by 1.125. 1.125. That goes down. There's a reason for this, is the place that you're going to put it eventually. That's why some are 1 1/4 and some are 1 1/8. You have to be real careful about that, because they will need to fit in a certain area. Otherwise, you have to go back and redesign. So just kind of make sure you're not just like, oh, he does the same size each week. It's also why I switch between Illustrator and InDesign is like, you don't get stuck. Like, oh, I just always, this is what we do. No, like, you got to be ready for the changes. You got to be ready. You never know what client's going to tell you what. Like, oh, no, we want it done in this. You're like, oh, okay, great. Well, I know how to do that. No problems. So I'm going to hit create, and I'm going to start with my margin layer. And the margin will be 6 by 0.75. So we just click up here, 6 tab 0.75, hit the old returner. That's, you know, again, just making sure it's not, we're making sure. I'm going to change this. Remember, always change it. Why do I have to change it? Because this is industry standard. Setting up the margin. The margins and the bleeds may change, but having them on your document is standard. It's just standard work. I'm going to turn on my ruler and pull my guides. Now I was thinking about this one. Not long. And I'm like, oh, I'm all about the stained glass and his gridded stained glass. And so, because my design piece is going to be on Frank Lloyd Wright and his stained glass or light screens, I want to emulate that here as well. Like I'm gonna do one part, and then the second part I'll be like, oh, I can kind of do the same thing within the rules of the design. So I'm gonna do this, make this a template, go to my crop marks. Draw my square. It's all basic stuff right now. All easy. Just, again, I think I talked about this. I open old files and I'm like, oh God, I got to put all this in. It's not there. Really old files, like decade old. And then this is type. Am I actually going to add one for background? Now here's the weird part. What's the last time I copied and pasted? What's it gonna do? Oh, I copied and pasted that. All right. So I'm just gonna go back to the assignment, and I have it on a different screen so you can't see it. I'm just gonna copy that text. Paste it in. Then I'm gonna make it as big as we want. Some people, or you have this space to work with, right? Use the space. Use this space. We don't want this. This is only 1 1/8 inch tall. Like you see it on the screen, it's like this big. So it's not legible. Like use the space. Like, I don't want like I'm sure there's time you're like, you say don't fill the space and then use the space. Like, you should use all of the real estate within this margin as possible. Now, I got some funky fonts. I got some Frank Lloyd righties. Oh, we got to be on it. I just kind of go with this first one. I don't like these S's. I didn't realize the font got so small right away. That's a cool one. Maybe I'll do this. Oh, I think this just reads better. Like it's too hard to read the other one. It's very cool. It's very hard to read. And then he's got this some handwritten fonts. Where's the way to click through this? Yeah, I'm just not a fan of those S's. All right, I'm going to go with this. But, so right now I'm just going to do this. Then I'm going to go back to my layers. And I have, if I go to my libraries and I scroll up, I have like windows and stuff. So I can just like emulate something from this. And maybe it won't take you along the whole design process, but like, so you get an idea. And I know what you're going to say. 2 colors maximum, Joel. I know. I'm going to pull over something that's more than 2 colors, but maybe I can just get the sense of it. So like if I pull this in and I make this 20%, 25%, and this is, we're using reference. Not enough people. I watch more and more designers, illustrators, everybody use reference. Copy it, like put it behind, like I want that style. We'll find that style and use that reference. Like, so I could do, like if I did this, let's like zoom in. Of course, I'm not gonna do that. Like, what if does it work? I want it squares, but here's it. I'm going to come in and I'm going to do what I always say don't do. Now, I learned this cool thing. I'm going to have 2 backgrounds. I'll call this real background. And then on this one, if you double click on it, you can hit dim images to like whatever. And if you like put 25%, your images will be like a template. I like to do that. I don't know. It's no different than doing opacity, but I just kind of like the idea that they did that. Then, so I can look in here and maybe it's too much. So maybe I do want to move this like, or I have to move it over. Maybe I need to move it over. I can't include it all. Because I don't want my type to get lost. So I'm looking right here on this edge, and I'm lining up this line. I got this line going across, and then that gives like, and I'm going to extend this, and then I have my type, and the type, which I know I have to do my modifications to, can be here. But this, then I can probably stack. So let's do the typographic modification, because the type will go and then all the way across. Like I'll make those lines go to the edge. I'm going to make it look like a little stained glass window is what I'm getting at. But I won't have you sit through the whole process. But let's do some type. Let's see here. I always just go and I want of. Let's do this. First thing, just split it. This is a genius. And I'll use the margin. Because then, like, so if I do this, this is why I'm like splitting it, is in a single line, that's as big as the type would get. But in a double line, I have the opportunity to make it at least this much bigger. But I want to watch this distance. I would like to keep, you know, like 1 square here and 2 here. So I'm cutting myself a little bit short. But if I can then take this and bring it to there, or do something like this. I don't like the of. Take the of, do something with the of. Cut that out. Put that lower. Paste. I'm going to make it smaller. I'm just not feeling this. Oh, is this it? Do I just tie the T's? Maybe that's it. Just make the of like it's subset, superset. I forget which term is which. Like a little floating of. I have this, but I'm going to make a copy of it. I go to type, create outlines, and then that allows me to pull this part down, but I have to lock this object, lock selection. Then I'm going to grab the lower part of this and pull down. You know, that could work. I wish I could do that, but that doesn't, that reads coffin tree. So maybe I just stick with this for now. 2 little type changes. So I have my design. So all then what I'd do is just kind of like copy, I'd make a square. And as we just talking about the grid, I'm going to start gridding this. And know like everything's based off of that square now. I'm going to have to outline it. That's the worst. I hate outline. But it's the only way to get that effect. So if I outline it, I'm going to pump it up to 2, and then just start doing a lot of like copy and paste. Move it over. Let me grab this and grab 2. Move them over. Lock them in. I have to, I'm going to go up. So you're like, but Joel, what about the bleed? So I'm going to bleed off. And what I'll do, so this can go past now, right? Oh, I got my, so watch this. This is one of those things. So as I made this bigger, I have my scale, stroke, and effects on. So this may be one where I have to go to Illustrator and go to Settings, General, and I'm going to turn off scale, stroke, and effects. But I have to remember I did that because I want everything to have the same stroke. So that goes behind. That's great. I will extend pure black up to the top. So I would do this. So I'd have black to the bleed. So if it was cut, black is all the way up to the top. There's my bleed. So, but my bleed is going to be different all the way around because here the bleed will be the circle. I hope that's making sense to everybody. That like that's how it's like how you have to work to get your projects is like, okay, so I have that circle and I'm going to copy this. And then when I fill that, it's bleeding past. And then I bring it to the front and I'll make sure that you can't see behind it. And then I will fill, make sure that this properly has that fill, like all the way pretty much to the bleed. So that's what I do. So, and then I'm going to, make the circle down here, extend these out. I have the genius of 20th century design in this nice open box. And I think that's the design. Though now seeing it, I may have to make these squares smaller because the border's not enough for me. Obviously, like it's a thicker piece of cane, they call it, lead caning. It's a thicker piece right here than it is here and here. So it's something I'll have to play with. But again, that's just like me. This design is now just copy and paste. Bring that down. And I can alter it. It's my own design. So whatever I want to change, I can change from here on out. And then this is just, what do I say? Spend an hour on this? I spent 10 minutes on it. Spend 1 hour making a grid. And then coloring it, but only using 2 colors and 1 font with my 2 font changes. So that's that. So we go to File, Save As. Just some things to think about. Like I said, because I'm doing the stained glass light mirror thing. Mirror. I was talking crazy. So this is chapter designs. And this is 6. Chapter 06 title. That's so I know what it is. And I hit save. I don't think I have an area for those. All right. Kind of any questions on that work with that project? All right. Then we move into the design. All right. So again, dig through the book a bit. Oh, I had it already. See if something else jumps out at you. Again, I don't have every piece in here into my little 30-minute lecture. Dig around, see if something else. A lot of people love this stuff. This stuff I do not get into. And I had this in there. I was like, geez, there's some stuff like I skip it because I'm like, oh, I don't like it. So yeah, that's why I'm like, be advised. Like look through the book, find your own what you like to look at and work forward from that. So the book is there for you to peruse, or that chapter is. And we're doing, oh, this is a wide one, 14 by 5 in InDesign. All right, let's do it. Oh, that works out for these windows. New file. It's 14 by 5 pages, only one. Always make sure if you're doing a single page in InDesign that you turn off the spacing pages to make your parent page's life easier. Otherwise, it offsets the one, and it's just like, what? And it's very hard to deal with. That's just like one of those like super tips. Like, just get used to doing that. Now this has stopped changing them all automatically. So 0.25 on the margins, 0.25 on the bleed. Oh, weird. The margin, oh, because this is turned off. I think I forgot I was explaining something about magazines and how they might not have the bleed fully all the way around at the same. All right, so let's create that. So nice and long. There's actually going to be a split in the middle when you paste this in. Let's do our layers. On title, I'm going to put all the stuff in on my title layer, which is, what do you mean all the stuff? I'm going to put this back. For my own safety, I'm going to draw a box. It's going to click in. So when I pull my guides, they snap. And I'm just going to erase that box. There you go. Sometimes if you don't have the box, it doesn't always snap. It gets a little goofy. You do what you need to do to, there's always a second way. So whenever we're designing, there's always a second way to get what you want done. And sometimes if you bang your head for more than 5 minutes, pick a different way to do it. We get stuck sometimes, and I try not to say that there's only one way to do something. I give you my preferred way. And I have done this in my life where, you know, somebody is like, this is how I do it. And you do it that way. And it's just, you can tell in the back of your mind, you're like, this isn't the way. And then something happens and you figure out a new way. And you're like, this is the way for me. This is the way I want to do it. But again, with the computers and the programs, let me just say some of the basics. Setting up layers, you should always do. Setting up, you're going to be working with print people. They're going to need to know the margin, the bleed, the crop marks, all of that stuff. That's just like design set in stone. But when it comes to like how you get there, maybe that changed a bit. Maybe you're going to be like, I like hand making crop marks, or I want to have my margin. Like, it just has to be there. So when you don't come back to it, the printer's not like, what did you do? Like, we're not used to that. So, all right, I got 30 things open. And let's do my title, copy. My title, I'm just going to get that in there. What's going on? Type tool. Weird. All right, my type tool is not typing. Huh. Nothing's working. Okay, great. All right, so this is the point. Nothing is working. I am in InDesign. It is set up, but whatever I do, it's not doing. Can I pull over an image? Oh, that's the wrong library. Oh, uh-oh. So it's not letting me do this either now. All right. So there might be file, save as. chapter designs. This is chapter 06. Design. Save. So nothing's working, right? I can't. Oh, finally. Oh, once I saved it, look. There we go. So I saved it. It took it out of its glitch. Great. Now, hopefully, there we are. Now you paste that in. Frank Lloyd writes geometric light screens. There's my title. So I get my title on the page. So if there you go. There's a perfect example. If something's not working, stop what you're doing, kind of save it. I was going to close out InDesign completely and reopen it. Talking with somebody else the other day. What did they were running into a problem? We did that. It didn't work. What do? We restarted the computer and everything worked fine. So if you run into those glitches, which I feel like with this new setup on Adobe, there's far more glitches happening and it's driving me nuts. This then also pasted in with no updates. So I need to add some separators so I know. See that? It's not every tool is working right. Something's going on. All right, so I have to find the word transparency and put a return there. I'll tell you what, I'm locked out again. There you go. Influence, and then I have to find key characteristics, hit a return there. And this is just, I'm just placing in the text, but I'm making sure I know my areas. And so when I re-typeset this, I can go through and not have to refer. I'm going to close out my window, my other window. So we have the tree of life. Architectural unity. That is on its own, but I'm going to delete and return it. And then we have one last one from the Playflow. Right there. Hit a return. It's another thing to note, and I say this a lot, is as a graphic designer, you're going to be given text. I don't give it to you in this class because I want you to look it over. I want you to read about it. I want you to maybe grab something interesting in your mind about a historical subject from the design world. So I don't give it to you in these, but you'll be given type all the time and you have to fix it. Just because they gave it to you in a certain way, and when you copy and paste it in, you can't say to them like, oh, but no, but that's how your paragraphs were laid out. They're expecting you to clean it, fix it, and do everything. Like we used to even have to do spell checking for people until that took so long that we mandated at the company like, oh, we need you to spell check it and sign off of it in a Word document before we will design it, because it was just wasting our time. Then I can take all these and plop them in. I got 6. I don't have to use all 6. I'm gonna use the tool up here to go down to 25%. I'm gonna check them. They're all like, this is too big, this is too big, this is too big. Those are fine for now. Let's do another 25. I just want them small enough that if I put them somewhere, I can see them and be like, oh, this is a great spot for that. The other one is if I was so inclined as to just get them all like the same height or width, sometimes helps me with the design process, is like, here they're all different sizes. They're like, well, what if I go through and just resize them all? And a lot of them, you know, like when you guys do stuff and I'm like, you stretch the images, I look for continuity up here. So if I lock that and I change this to 1, oh, nope, I don't want that because that does the wrong, I need it with this. Can I do it with this? No. All right, so don't do that. I don't like that. But if you do it here, here's the problem. If you do it here, it does it correctly. Meaning if I shrink this one and these are locked, the whole image gets smaller, not just the bounding box. See how that works? It's very confusing in design. So I'm just going to go through and line these all up as part of my design process, and like just say like, okay, grab this tool, shift, and I may end up cropping that one more. Then I go to the next one, and this is just a starting base. Like that way they all like have a start. I'm not dealing with one huge, one small, one medium, one large. Like I can start to think of these as design assets and know that at least they all have one aspect in common before I start my full design. I was trying to get a better picture of these windows. These are super cool, and I wanted to emulate. This is Tree of Life. This is something like he's got names for all of them, and that's the stuff I want. You should be finding out. Should I just crop this one? Yeah, that's better. Something's sticking on my computer. It's not letting me do everything I want to do. There. And then we go to here. And I can start thinking about the layout a bit more. Oh, one more. Sometimes, for these quick ones, it's not always about the sketch. I knew there's going to be the stained glass. I'm going to do gridding, some sort of gridding in it. So I'll move things around. There'll be a split. It's like, how do I want it? And of course, I'm changing these fonts. Maybe I want to do 3 and 3 in middle. Though his designs are heavy, like at the top. So maybe if I took that as the inspiration, like here and here. But if I make them bigger, it takes up too much space. But what if we offset that and I do this and this? Because then it's kind of like, see that same shape? And then I can bring these together. And of course, you know what? I don't want them touching the edge of the artboard. What am I doing? Let's design this right to the edge of the artboard. Go to the margin. Then I'm going to bring this in. And I'm going to grab all these. And I'm going to use the free transform tool. And I'm going to grow them to that. And I'm going to look and like, okay, maybe this is getting better. Just check. It could be a little bit offset. I think I'm going to offset things, meaning not perfectly symmetrical, even though it looks like I'm going down the symmetrical route. The text won't be. And then I know where in general I can put my text. It's pretty big. It's fine. What is that, 12 point? Yeah, I can go down to 10, 9, 8. I got plenty of room for that. I may even break it up into 2 segments. One here, one here. I'm the worst at getting this thing to go over. And then this goes here. And then I want to add some, I'm going to do maybe some stainy, glassy look. I'm going to have this title. I'm going to break up the title. Frank Lloyd Wright, geometric light screens, like 2 lines. Nice and big, offset. So I think I've kept you guys long enough today as you watch me design, but I do this so you can see little tricks and tips along the way as you're thinking about your design and how it's done. Any questions, comments, or concerns? All right. Well, I'll be checking the discussion boards hopefully around 2. Get back to you if you've posted anything for tonight. And other than that, I will talk to you on Thursday And we are switching. Thursday, the final? Thursday, Project B Part 1 starts. Research. Don't worry, it's just like the other one. It's not too bad. It's not too shabby. We'll talk mostly about that on Thursday then. All right. Looking forward to seeing your posters. And other than that, I will talk to you again. If not on the discussion boards, I'll talk to you on Thursday. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.